Good morning, my sweet chinchillas. GoJo and Golic is loaded with the good stuff today. What is that good stuff? We hit the Quan. Saquon carving up the Commanders like a turkey, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings. Hey, Michigan football not turning up this season, and now a Wolverines recruit turning down the team, and $10.5 million. Freaking kids these days, man. Big games, awesome slate around the NFL. We're going to dive into a lot of them. It is finally Bills-Chiefs week, and it's finally time for me to shut the hell up and GoJo and Golic to start talking.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to GoJo and Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., Emerson Latzia, who you just heard from there. We got a great show for you guys. As always, we are presented by Campbell's Chunky, the soup that eats like a meal, and we're going to get you nice and full this Friday. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review us, leave us a 5-star rating. Check us out live Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on the DraftKings Network, which includes our new YouTube channel. Check it out and subscribe to the GoJo and Golic YouTube channel. Hit the bell and get ready for us here. We're getting ready. Great Football Friday here. We'll take a look at some of the big-time college football games this weekend. Tennessee, Georgia headlining that bunch. We'll have our NFL Acrostic preview coming up. A couple of great guests as well on that front. Mark Andrews, tight end for the Baltimore Ravens, as they get set for a great division tilt against the Steelers. And then Shawn Porter going to join us here, former two-time welterweight champion, to break down this Tyson versus Jake Paul fight that's coming up tonight, which I know you're very intrigued by, Dad. And these sort of gimmick boxing matches led by Jake Paul and his group have sort of become a staple for the attention grabbing in the boxing world right now.
I mean, attention grabbing and money grabbing. He's making $40 million in this fight. Double what Mike Tyson is making. Tyson is making $20 million.
It's probably why he slapped the hell out of him last night at the weigh-in.
Yeah.
Well, I slapped the hell out of him. Like, by Mike Tyson standards, that was actually like grace that he showed.
Yeah, that was a tap. That was a tap considering what a real slap is going to be like. But look forward to talking to Shawn. The fight is finally here. There are many who thought that wasn't going to happen,
including Shawn.
But it is going to happen. Let's see how much of a gimmick it is, or if Tyson comes flying across the ring, Emerson, like he normally does, trying to dislodge his opponent's head from his body.
Yeah, let's not ignore the fact, too, Tyson was just dropping truth bombs to like some 12-year-old kid interviewing him.
Oh, my God.
That clip yesterday, one of the greatest things of all time. If you missed it, a child reporter was asking Mike Tyson questions about what he wanted his legacy to be. And Mike Tyson apparently either treats kids the same as he treats adults, or just blacked out and forgot where he was. Goes off for like a 2-minute long answer about how legacy is just ego and we shouldn't care about what people think when we die. We're all just fleeting ashes to dust, dropping F-bombs at the end of it. It was incredible.
It was.
That's how you could tell he's ready for this
Well,
fight.
that's exactly right. He's in the zone. So that was we look forward to that fight. I'm glad to be out on the West Coast because we know it'll be a normal late start.
I was just going to say, we already had the usual conversation.
God.
My dad saw that it was an 8 p.m. start for the entire card and looked at my mom and was like, I don't know if we're going to make it for this one. And she was like, it'll be 6 o'clock out here when that starts. What are you talking about? And even that's a toss-up with
that's going to be
So
an absolute toss-up.
What time do you guys think that thing actually starts? Like the main bout?
Well, there's I think six fights before it.
Yeah.
So it's if you're on the East Coast, it's going to be after midnight.
I'm going to miss it.
And this is the trick that I used to do, especially for like UFC fights, because I'd stay up and watch the cards when I lived on the East Coast. And by the way, good one there this weekend. John Jones and Stipe Miocic.
Yes.
This weekend on Saturday, which will be awesome. But what I used to do is, because I'm, a very casual fight game fan, and so I'm not usually drinking in the undercards like some people. We got a couple of big fight fans on our show. But I would set an alarm and go and nap for like the first 45 minutes to an hour of the card to try and get through so that I could wake up and be ready to go and alert for the actual main event.
That's a good move. I am certainly going to try and stay awake for it. It is going to be a show. They have roped me in. There's no doubt about it. And before we get going, a quick happy birthday to my granddaughter Alex.
Turning 01.
Turning 1. She is 1 year old. My daughter Sydney and her husband Ben's child that lives out here in Arizona. We got her own cake to kind of
the smash cake,
kind of do her thing with. So looking forward to that. And my daughter-in-law, your sister-in-law Jenny, is going to turn not 1 tomorrow.
Yes.
It's her birthday tomorrow.
God.
She'll be perpetually 25 in my mind, but she is about 2 weeks away from giving birth to
I was going to say, she is huge
child.
right now. She is ginormous.
Yeah.
I don't think you're supposed to say
Probably
it like that.
not
She's a
supposed
good
to
friend
say
of
it
mine.
like that.
If anyone, if anyone loves Emerson enough to absorb what he just said there with grace, it's Jenny, who has known Emerson longer than we have at this point. So happy birthdays all around there. I'm excited to watch Alex do damage to this cake. We know Jenny can do damage to a cake right now. She's fit into the family seamlessly in that regard in sugar consumption here. This will be like Alex's 1 year test, like her driver's license re-up, to see if she can remain a part of this family by going out and manhandling this cake.
I have faith in her. I have faith
too.
that she's going to just destroy this cake.
You know what? Speaking of destruction after your bedtime here, holy hell, the Eagles in the fourth quarter. What in the hell happened on this Thursday night football game? I thought we were so close to Thursday night football, squeezing all the life out of this matchup and giving Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit the limp remains of this. And instead, the Eagles decide to hit the gas late in this one, Dad. They win 26-18 against the Commanders, who put a late one on the board there as they try and do the touchdown onside kick business at the end of the game when things were already pretty out of reach. And it was a slog early on in this one, both teams really struggling to come by offense. But then there's going to be the decision everyone talks about from Dan Quinn, electing to go for it on 4th and 2, down on the Eagles 26, down 10-12 late in this game, where ultimately they go for it. The play actually gets botched, and Jaden Daniels gets tackled short of that, and the Eagles go on. But the other part of this is Saquon Barkley, another monstrous night, including 2 door-slamming touchdowns in the fourth quarter, as he probably going neck and neck with Derrick Henry in the Offensive Player of the Year race for the 2 running backs. And I know some people wanting MVP buzz. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen.
The Offensive Player of the Year race coming down to these 2 running backs who are both acquired in the offseason.
I love
incredible.
It. 2 best pickups in the offseason. I've been saying it all year. Yeah, this was a 7-3 game. Washington lead at halftime. Washington scored in the first quarter of this one. Philly, Jake Elliott was missing 2 field goals and missing an extra point. I mean, for his sake, I'm glad Philly won this game because he cost him 7 points.
I thought he was about to get the Deebo Samuel treatment. I was looking on the sideline to see if anyone had that glimmer in their eyes, like they were getting ready to choke a kicker on principle.
His ball hooks like my golf ball slices. I mean, just moves unbelievably from right to left.
To be clear, I'm glad no one choked him.
Yeah, no.
Or the long snapper here. I mean, if you're the long snapper, after what you saw, though, every long snapper and kicker probably had to have the talk this last week, right?
Yeah, it's exactly right.
Like, you got my back if someone goes rogue.
And the long snappers are probably in the weight room a little more, knowing they have to step up for their kicker.
That's what I mean. The pregame, it's tough because you got to, it's a very long snapping is a craft, and so you've got to be very diligent about that, and so you don't want to get too pumped up in the pregame, but now you apparently got to fight people.
Yeah, now you got to be that meat shield in front of your kicker.
Yes.
Yeah, you do. But so 7-3 at half, and the Eagles offense did open up. I mean, it was 10-3 with 11 minutes to go in the third quarter, and Philly scored the next 23 points, including that area of where Washington went for it.
Yeah, what'd you make of that decision?
I didn't really have a problem with it. They'd have gone up 13-12, and there was 9 minutes to go in the game. I hardly think that was the game. Now, Philly would have been playing from behind, and they would have had to at least try and get in field goal position with a kicker that had missed 2 field goals.
Sure.
So there is something to that. See, we all talk about analytics, right? So just about that play specifically. And what did the analytics say?
The analytics on that play, according to Next Gen Stats, now everyone has different models for their go for it, but according to Next Gen Stats, on that play, they actually favored the Commanders' decision to go for it over kicking the field goal.
I'm not a put the blinders on and just go by analytics. I go by the game as well. And would you take into consideration, if you're Dan Quinn, let's go up 1. Now, they have plenty of time on the clock, but they need at least a field goal, and their field goal kicker has missed 2.
Sure.
So, I mean, I think you, instead of just putting the blinders on and going what the analytics say, I think you have to read the game as well. So I could have lived with them kicking the field goal and going up by 1 and seeing what would have played out, especially if the Eagles and Jake Elliott had to try another field goal to see if he would have made it or not. But I'm okay with it. Botch snap, the play was kind of a mess from the beginning.
Yeah, it was DOA. Jaden Daniels got the botch snapped and ended up having to turn that into a scramble where give Philadelphia credit. And I think I'm with you. I generally didn't have a problem with the decision.
Yeah.
These usually tend to be execution comments a lot more than decision comments. And offense was hard to come by in that game. So if you're down there and you've got a chance to slam the door shut, I'm never really going to fault a team, very few instances, for trying to go out and win it themselves. But, Dad, it does highlight the play of the Eagles' defense.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about the young secondary there where you've gotten Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean playing
some
really well.
ball. Quinyon Mitchell, the rookie from Toledo, is playing some ball.
But the linebackers, I want to talk about them. Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean, who finally looks like the Nakobe that we all knew at Georgia as a part of that war machine defense there. But Zach Bond's been an incredible pickup. 15 tackles for him, 10 tackles apiece for Nakobe Dean and Reed Blankenship last night. Those guys were flying around and making plays. Washington, who really, Austin Eckler was their leading receiver last night. So those guys got challenged a bunch between him and Zach Ertz, and they stepped up to the call and were everywhere. That group in particular, I think, has stepped up as much as any this season.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin just had 1 catch for 10 yards.
Yeah.
From the wide receiver position, which is hard to fathom. And what a difference of the linebackers this year, and they just basically forgot about the linebackers last year. The cap number for their linebackers was like the lowest in the league. Yeah. Then they had injuries on top of it. It has been a great turnaround with the linebackers and, quite honestly, the secondary with a young secondary. But Saquon shuts a door. He gets a 23-yard touchdown run. Then the next play for Washington, Jaden Daniels throws a bad pass. It's picked off. And then the next play, Saquon runs a 39-yard touchdown. So basically within 20 seconds, he has 2 long touchdown runs, had 146 yards rushing on the night, 198 overall. He now leads Derrick Henry by as far as the rushing title in the league, but Derrick hasn't played yet, and he's just 17 yards ahead of Derrick. I think Derrick's going to retake the lead. Yeah. But just the fact that those two are battling it out warms my heart. Just such an embattled position, and these two guys move, and they're playing great ball.
Yeah, they are. I think, Dad, trying to sort of legislate what to take away from this game is really interesting because we mentioned all the improvement for the Eagles in these areas, and this was still a really close game going into the fourth quarter, and then the dam sort of broke late, and so I'm always a little one to pump the brakes when, hey, you get this flurry in the fourth quarter when things go bad, and all of a sudden the box score looks like it's so wildly different. This was a really close game for a really long time between these two teams. The Eagles are absolutely talented enough to make a postseason run, and this Washington defense, I think, got fat and happy feasting on bad offenses in this run where they started to look statistically better. To me, the biggest takeaway, at least for Washington side, is Jaden Daniels, to me, didn't look right at the end.
No.
Cutting the ball loose, and they talked about the the vest that he's wearing, the carbon fiber vest to help with the rib protection stuff, showed him grimacing on the sideline. There were spots where him throwing the football, it looked like he was feeling the effects of that rib injury some and not his normal self.
I mean, you could tell the ball was coming up short. The ball was going at the feet of his receivers. The interception was wasn't even at the feet of his receivers. It was about 2 body lengths short of his receivers. So, you wonder if either the pain or the rib protector is inhibiting the throw. Because, he did not look like the normal Jaden Daniels we had seen.
No, and so on that side, that's one of those things that I don't think is going to get markedly better this year. I think Washington is firmly going to be the second best team in this division in Philadelphia, who I do think is capable of getting hot at the right time. Now, for them, they got lucky. Landon Dickerson went down in like the second play of the game and then ends up coming back in. And this group struggled a little bit at times through the early portion of the game. Jalen Hurts and this Eagles offense struggled to get connected. Mike Sainristil was everywhere for that Commander secondary. When you look at a guy that really stymied a lot of what they were trying to do, whether it was Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown, he was awesome last night, as was Frankie Louvu, a couple of their new additions.
Louvu was playing well. But against the pass, Washington's been doing well. They've been getting nicked up a little bit against a run, and it showed last night. Now they were in the lead in the division. Now trying to hold on to a wild card spot, right? because right now the wild card, Minnesota is in, Green Bay is in, and then you have some 4-loss teams like San Francisco, a 4-loss team, and Washington, a 4-loss team. So they'll be battling for that wild card spot.
Yeah, going to be fat. Washington, a 2-loss team here. I don't know who you were looking at there as a 4-loss team.
Washington, a 4-loss team.
Oh, 4-loss
team. 4-loss team. They're a 4-loss team.
Whoops. I'm looking at the Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles are a 2-loss team.
The Eagles are the 2-loss team, and that's why things are
Washington would be happy to be a 2-loss team.
Dad, do you think the Eagles are like an actual Super Bowl contender? When you look at the way that team played last night, do you think they can make a run?
I do not think they're better than Detroit.
Okay.
Let's see when San Francisco gets fully healthy, if they do. But what I'll say is, one game, anything can happen.
One game, anything could certainly happen. But like I heard Tony Gonzalez say that he thinks that they are the best team
I heard
in
him
the
say
NFC
that too.
right now.
I don't agree with that.
Way too rich in my blood.
I do not agree with that.
To your point, on their best day, and now this week 2 is really what I want to see for the 49ers. Now, when they've got all these guys and they've got another week under their belt, what that starts to look like, because if it looks the way that we're used to there with how much the yards after the catch came back in that offense all of a sudden with CMC there, that's a team that could certainly be in the mix for that conversation. I'm not ready to hand it to Philadelphia yet, because there were still too many times last night when it looked hard for the Eagles on offense in areas where we didn't think it should.
Boy, if they get that running game going, and it got going late, obviously, with Saquon. A.J. Brown is a stud. Dallas Goedert, underrated.
Dallas Goedert's underrated, but, Dad, the running game's been good. Saquon Barkley has 4 games of over 140 yards in 10 games this season. It's insane, Emerson.
Yeah, it's really the second half where Saquon has been unreal here, guys. So that was his second game of the season with over 50 rushing yards and multiple touchdowns in the fourth quarter. No one else has done that once. And 738 rushing yards, and he's averaging 7.2 yards per carry just in the second half alone of games this season. Like, if you're facing Philadelphia, you need to knuckle down after halftime against this guy.
Yeah, he's the first player to have over 440-yard games in the first 10 games of the season since Shawn Alexander in 2005. And Alexander, a rare win for a running back, won the MVP that year.
Behind maybe the greatest left side of an offensive line in modern NFL history.
That is true. And I don't think Saquon or Derrick Henry is going to win the MVP. I don't. But they're certainly both in the running for Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Without question.
And they've both given their teams a clear identity. And I think if you were Philadelphia especially, Baltimore had an identity last year that they inexplicably went away from in the postseason.
Right.
This year, Baltimore's identity is we can do a little bit of everything very well all of the time. But Derrick Henry has become the closer for the Baltimore Ravens, really going back to that Las Vegas Raiders loss earlier this year where they inexplicably went away from it. Every game since then, when it gets close and they get a lead in the fourth
He's
quarter,
the hammer.
They start to finally feed him if they haven't been doing it all day. We'll talk to Mark Andrews about that distribution of all the weapons on that offense coming up here in just a little bit. But for the Philadelphia Eagles now, too, Dad, coming off last year where we were like, all right, they need more answers for the blitz. They need to see, Jalen Hurts, is he going to be ever, healthy enough again to be a viable run threat in this offense? And by the way, they had that brief scare with him in the concussion eval last night in the 10th.
Probably didn't like the way he answered the question saying, I beat the concussion test.
I mean, that's pure football.
Oh, I know. Believe me, it's something I would have said. We all would have said.
It's not the right answer you're supposed to give.
That's not what you say out loud. No. I beat the concussion test, and then
that's how a lot of guys.
Without question. And he was saying, I don't really remember the play, and he even said maybe I shouldn't be saying this. Yes, Jalen, you probably shouldn't be saying that. Just go ahead and beat the test, and don't tell anybody you beat the test.
Yes. Well, you know what? The Eagles beat the Washington Commanders, and they did it because their identity doesn't have to run through just Jalen Hurts now dropping back and making it happen. He can hand that ball off to 2-6, and my oh my, we're lucky to get to see him finally behind a great offensive line. Coming up next, we'll take a look at the rest of a big weekend in the NFL here on GoJo and Golic.
Time to channel our inner poem, dude, inside me. Okay, so acrostic time, everybody. Little fun Football Friday preview here. Our frequent viewers know what I'm talking about. G, give me another great game. O stands for, oh no, we have a banged up quarterback. L for, let's see if the Chicago offense will show change. I, it's time to prove it with Brock Purdy and the gang. And C, can they hold a team under 21 again? Junior, G, give me another classic. Chiefs at the Bills. Bills have had Kansas City's number in the regular season. Josh Allen owns this team in the regular season. Who has the edge in this one again, and why is it Buffalo?
I mean, I feel like that hat has the edge against you right
Yeah.
now. You got dominated a little bit by that thing. Were you nervous trying to live up to Jesse's standard in the chair?
Yeah, I've worn it like a few times before, but I'm trying to like respect the mustache. Like, I don't need a hat when I have a mustache. Like, I don't need accessories when I have a mustache. But then, you know, you got Hoffman in the back being like, wear the hat, wear the hat. It's like, calm down, dude. I have a mustache. I can do whatever the hell I want.
Well, I mean, a lot of people in the Old West, I think, would dispute your claim that having a mustache is all of a sudden a non-starter for hat culture.
They are not poem people, okay? They're not poem people. Those are cowboys, dude. I'm a poem guy. I had to channel my inner poem, dude.
Would you rather be a poem guy or a cowboy, though?
Oh, I'd rather be a cowboy, 100%. But
yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm not here to play cowboy. I'm here to kind of just channel our inner poem.
Maybe you should put a cowboy spin on the acrostic.
Okay, maybe I will. Absolutely. If I wake up earlier, I'll get in here.
But not this time. Maybe we'll take the ball out of your hands here and save you from this hat and what it's done, and instead try and figure out, Dad, I've had such a tough time with this Bills-Chiefs game because really on paper it seems like this Bills team should absolutely get a win. You've had so much lining up for them in terms of the way they're built, winning along the lines of scrimmage, being able to attack the Chiefs with the four-man pass rush, the Chiefs especially at the left tackle spot, but really just on the edges in general of their line have struggled. Josh Allen's a warhammer. Harrison Butker, the Eagles' kicker, is now on IR dealing with a knee injury, and so everything should line up for a Chiefs team that's been living on a prayer all the way through this undefeated run against Buffalo, and I still am having a hang-up in my head about actually picking them as Buffalo, just a 2-point favorite at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's because of Patrick Mahomes, who's certainly not having his normal Pat Mahomes year, 12 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. And Buffalo has 11 interceptions on the year. They'll be looking to pick them off. But I agree about the lines of scrimmage. The left tackle for Kansas City has certainly been a weak spot. It's tough for me not to go with the Bills here as well. But there's always the but. I mean, Kansas City finds a way. And they're getting guys back from the injury list. I don't know if I'll be playing, but they're starting to going to get guys back and get a little healthier. But I just... It's tough to go away from Buffalo on this one. I just think they're the better team, even though Kansas City is undefeated. I think Buffalo overall can be the better team.
All right, if you're going to go with Buffalo, then that makes it easier for me to say somehow Kansas City is going to do this. Now, I think one of the players this could come down to, Greg Rousseau and this Buffalo Bills four-man pass rush here, I thought was interesting. Greg Rousseau is 5th in the NFL in quick quarterback pressure. So you think like that 2.5-second mark that most people measure whether a defensive lineman gets a win or the offensive lineman gets a win. He's up there with Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, Brian Burns, and Daniil Hunter. Like, he's been incredibly effective in that range. Maybe not as overall quarterback pressure effective, but considering that the Bills don't blitz a lot and they rely on that four-man pressure a ton, they blitz actually at the 3rd lowest rate in the NFL this season. It's going to have to be those guys up front getting a win. And for Kansas City, it's going to be about health at left tackle, as Wanye Morris has had some stuff where you've gotten Kingsley Suamataia in there, the rookie that's really struggled at times this year. But even Jawan Taylor on the other side has not been great compared to the core that keeps this team safe.
And you look at the pressure, Mahomes has not been great against pressure this year. He's completed a career-low 44% of his passes under pressure, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on dropbacks with pressure. So that does not bode well. Again, that interior of the Kansas City offensive line is stout, is sturdy as hell. The edges a little more questionable.
The other thing I worry about is the Chiefs on defense, surprisingly, because getting pressure on Josh Allen going to be important in this game. Josh has taken a lot better care of the football, and we know the Chiefs blitz at an incredibly high rate right now, but they're not getting a lot of pressure. The Chiefs are 13th in the NFL this season. Oh, excuse me, that's on the other side here. But yeah, the Chiefs have blitzed at the 4th highest rate in the NFL this season, but they're not getting a lot of pressure when they do it.
And Josh Allen, by the way, has thrown for 11 touchdowns and no interceptions against the blitz this season. So the blitz is not really affecting him. Again, the arrows point to Buffalo, but it's Kansas City. It's Pat Mahomes, and they this year they have just found a way. But I'm going to go with Buffalo.
This is the stat that I was looking for, by the way. In the last 5 weeks, the Chiefs have blitzed at the 2nd highest rate in the NFL. And in that same span, they've recorded the 2nd lowest quarterback pressure percentage, ahead of only the Carolina Panthers when it comes to actually getting home and rattling the quarterback. And so that worries me against Josh Allen a lot. And so, man, I feel like I'm sitting here talking myself into the Bills right now this whole time.
Just do it. Just do it. I don't know. I listen.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna
do it.
I don't feel great about it, but I'm picking the Bills.
All right, no, I'm gonna pick the Bills this week.
Yeah,
We're gonna ride with the Bills. We're gonna do a clean sweep for the show here. Get the graphic ready for when this all goes poorly and the Chiefs somehow find a way to do this again. They can't keep getting away with this. Dad, let's get to the O in the acrostic here and take a look at the injury report here. Kirk Cousins and the Falcons going up against this Broncos defense that also one of the teams that gave the Kansas City Chiefs hell.
Yeah.
And I think, Dad, this game comes down to the fact that Bo Nix, we've seen a little bit of improvement as the season's gone along. This Atlanta defense just is not in position to rattle him at all. They can't get pressure on the quarterback here. They're one of the teams, they've given up the 2nd most scramble rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks this season, which we know Bo Nix incredible at. And so I think that combined with the fact that, you know, Kirk Cousins a little bit banged up, shown on the injury report with a shoulder, as are a number of guys on that roster, going against this Denver defense that no matter how you slice it, legitimately great. I think that's going to be trouble for the Falcons. I think the Broncos win this.
I'm going with the Broncos in this based on defense alone. The Falcons' defense is iffy. The Broncos' defense is strong. You have a nicked-up Kirk Cousins who's going to have pressure on him. He's not a running quarterback, so he's either going to have to dump it and live to fight another play, or he's going to get sacked. So I like the Denver defense in this. And Bo Nix is coming on. And by the way, this is a playoff team right now.
Right?
They're in the playoffs. You have 2 of the 3 rookies that started the season. 2 of them are in the playoffs as we speak.
Yeah, it's been pretty incredible. And, you know, this is one, like, as we go along here, we're probably going to have to talk more about Sean Payton and the job that he's done overall with this team, because early on, I mean, the Bo Nix experience is still a bit of a roller coaster. The guy scrambles on 19.5% of his dropbacks, which is the 5th highest scramble rate in the NFL so far this season. Now he's been somewhat effective, 14 to 33 for 203 yards passing and 233 yards rushing on 34 scrambles. But, Dad, this has also been about the environment that Sean Payton's put around him, kind of similar to what he did last year with Russell Wilson, where, hey, we're going to guard you a little bit with some of the run and play action stuff, but the defense making the leap that they have against the other side, an Atlanta Falcons defense that's generated pressure at the lowest rate in the NFL this season. I can't trust them, especially if they're banged up. So we're both rocking Denver on this one. Let's go to L. Now, we got to hear for the first time from Thomas Brown, the new offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, as we're going to try and see if any of these changes can take hold. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about what to expect from that offense this week with Caleb Williams.
I think at this point, when it comes to where we are in the season, you can't reinvent the wheel. I'm not going to try to do that at all. That'd be kind of set us in a spiral going backwards, in my opinion. But it's about being able to try to find the best ways to be effective with our playmakers, right? To be able to marry what we do from a formation and motion standpoint. Everything to me starts up front, starts with the run game, how we attack, knock it forward mentality, and we build off of that.
Listen, he is 1,000% right. You're not redefining anything. No one's walking through those doors.
No.
There's no other talent that's walking in to help this offense. It's about play calling. It's exactly what he said about putting his best players in position to make plays. How does he call plays? The plays aren't going to be different. The order they're called and the situation they're called are what's going to be different. And he needs to put the good players in position to make plays, and the weaker players, which is the offensive line, in position to be successful, whether that's throwing short to open up the run instead of just trying to run the ball right out of the gate. That's the job of Thomas Brown. Make the job easier for the part of the offense that's struggling and try and emphasize the better players on offense.
Yeah, I would say this. The Packers have not been a great team at pressuring the quarterback. Now, the Bears tend to invite that.
Yeah,
but
they do.
This could be a spot because they are also getting healthier on the offensive line. Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright both expected to be back this week potentially for the game, which would go a long way there. Montez Sweat also back defensively. So the cavalry might be coming back because remember, part of last week's 9-sack output was they were down 4 starters on the offensive line. And so things were really bad at the worst time with that group. The thing that concerns me a little bit, Dad, we've talked a lot about, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley in the rushing attack. We have not talked about another guy, I think, enough who found a new home, and that's Josh Jacobs at running back for the Green Bay Packers. Fourth in the NFL in rushing right now coming into this game. And you look at the Bears defense, much better against the pass than they are as the run, although that has improved slightly lately for Chicago on the ground when you look at them. They've got the 6th highest yards per carry average in the last 5 weeks allowed, though, on the ground. So you can be had on the ground. And key for Green Bay, they had the bye week when a chance for Jordan Love to get a little bit healthier after that groin. So I think the Packers win this one. There's part of me that wonders, hey, we see the new coaching bump happen all the time. Usually that effect is it reminds everyone, hey, your job is on the line too. If they're going to fire Buddy there, that means any of us can get it for the most part. And so 5.5 is an interesting number for me on this one, Dad. I think this could end up being a little bit closer. I think Green Bay wins this game, but I'm not sure if I can give them 5.5.
It's one of those, if Green Bay gets a 2-score lead and really, as Thomas Brown said, he needs to kind of work the offense to their favor. And if they have one part of it taken away where they have to throw, I think it's going to roll up on them. I'm going to take Green Bay and I'm going to give the points.
All right. I think I might go Bears plus 5.5 in this one. Just again, wild card factor of that. And again, they're getting guys healthy now. So are Green Bay, by the way. Jair Alexander, Josh Myers, and Evan Williams were all full participants on Wednesday in practice. So if that group's back out there when that offensive line for Green Bay is at full strength, usually a pretty good time here. All right, so we both think Green Bay going to win the game there, though. Let's go to San Francisco, Dad. Big change for them last week in how that offense operated. Christian McCaffrey being back last week led to a season high for San Francisco with 172 yards after the catch, after ranking near the bottom of the league in all of that division matchup against the Seahawks. How do you see this one going down?
Well, I mean, I see San Francisco just going in the right direction, especially getting Christian McCaffrey back. We wondered how he would be integrated into that offense, especially with Jordan Mason, the way he was running. Well, it was answered. Jordan Mason had 1 carry for 5 yards.
Yeah.
McCaffrey had 13 carries. He had 6 catches. He had 19 touches. And that's only going to go up. And you're right about the yards after the catch. They were the kings of the yards after the catch since Kyle Shanahan's been there. And then they were down near the bottom. Now they're going to be pushing back up toward the top as the rest of the year goes on. So I like San Francisco. They're getting healthy at the right time. And for Seattle, I think they're going to be kind of that 500 team.
I would agree. I think San Francisco with Christian McCaffrey back is a different animal. So I think they win. Honestly, I think they win by a touchdown. So I'd be willing to give the 6.5 here.
I'll give the 6.5.
Important matchup in this one to me. Nick Bosa had 11 of his 14 pressures against this team in Week 6 against Stone Forsythe, who was filling in at tackle. Abraham Lucas back off the injury report finally for the Seattle Seahawks at tackle. Basically spent the last 2 years there beat up. Him and DK Metcalf both back at practice. I think kind of like the Rams, that first week back for an offensive lineman that's been on the shelf for a while, probably not the guy you want to see in Nick Bosa. So I think the 49ers can win that matchup and keep it going. Let's finish up, Dad. The game you're calling, by the way, the Chargers-Bengals game on Sunday night. Chargers a 1.5-point favorite. You can't pick it, but what's the key to the game?
Well, I mean, I look at, listen, the Chargers play zone just about as much as any team in the NFL, 84% zone. And Jamar Chase, who had a monster game in the loss last week, 264 yards, eats up zone coverage, 795 yards, 7 touchdowns, both number 1 in the NFL. So you're going to zone him. He is going to beat you up. And Chase Brown has come in and done a nice job at running back. But forgetting the running, he's been the check down king since week 9. Been the most the targets, 15. On checkdowns for Burrow when he hasn't been able to go deep. So, but the Chargers 3 losses, I mean, they're in the playoffs right now. You're right. I can't pick this, but it's about stopping Jamar Chase.
It is about stopping Jamar Chase. I don't know if anyone can do it, and I just don't know yet on the other side if the Chargers have the firepower to keep up in a shootout like this. I'll take the Bengals in this one. Chargers 1.5-point favorites at home against Cincinnati, so that one no doubt going to be exciting. Coming up next, though, we'll talk about exciting this Friday night boxing matchup between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Let's break it down here. One coming up Friday night. It's finally here. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Friday at AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas, 8 o'clock Eastern on Netflix. And so to get us some insight on how this is being received in the world of boxing at large here, Shawn Porter, kind enough to join us now, host of the Porter Way podcast, two-time welterweight world champion here. Shawn, good morning. How you doing, man?
Good morning. I'm happy to be with you guys right now, especially the older gentleman right there sitting next to you.
I appreciate that very much, man. I'm definitely older and whiter from, I'm sure, from the years when you were listening to me.
And we all still love it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Honestly, a great segue into a fight that's really interesting because the guy that we're getting ready to watch, at least one of them in Mike Tyson, 58 years old, really 20 years since his last sanctioned fight, and a guy stepping into this who, Shawn, certainly comes with the name brand. Everyone knows Mike Tyson. All people of a certain age have this image in their head of him as one of the most ferocious fighters ever. Where we're at now with his age, are you surprised that this fight's even happened? I know you were on record of saying you never thought it was actually going to end up getting done, right?
I didn't think it was going to happen at all. And then I went from, the first one when it got canceled, of course I was the see, I told you guy, but after that, seeing this next one, and then, I had a friend text me, there's a lot of promotion going on, a lot of promotional dollars happening here. And I said, yeah, they're actually going to go through with this. I thought it was a gimmick at first. I still believe that in a lot of ways, this is the gimmick of Jake Paul. And I think that people just have to appreciate who he is and what he's doing, you can't put him in a box of he's boxing. He's not boxing. He's a gimmick in boxing. And I think if you're able to understand that, then you can appreciate what he's trying to do.
So while those of us outside the boxing ring are going to have eyes glued and have seen his kind of going through the boxing world, in the boxing world, you're saying you boxers in the boxing world do not think of him as a boxer.
Most fighters in the boxing world don't think of him as boxers or as a boxer. I understand that he's put in the work. I appreciate that he's put in the work. So I look at him as a boxer. I don't look at him as the way that mainstream looks at him, like he's world championship contention, possibly could be a great or anything like that. No, he doesn't deserve the chance, the opportunity to be in the ring with Iron Mike Tyson. However, if that was a idol of his growing up, you have to salute this young man for putting himself in a position to be able to get in the ring with people that he has idolized as a kid. And you have to appreciate that.
Is there any bitterness from you in the world of mainstream boxing for how much attention Jake Paul gets for kind of being someone who's gone about this in the gimmick way that you mentioned?
Not me. I think I'm on record for saying that too. Like, he's bringing eyes to the sport. Appreciate what he's doing. Like, kind of welcome him into. I'm gonna go ahead and say what boxing hasn't done, and I've even pitched this idea before to boxing. When I say boxing, I mean the business people of boxing. There was a big fight going on. I'll go ahead. It was David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. Stylistically, one of the best fights to be made in boxing. I text someone very important, invite Jake Paul to this fight, put him in the front row, and make sure he tweets that he's there. People are going to go because that's where he's at. People are going to want to watch because that's where he's at. Boxing has not taken advantage of him being a part of this sport. From day one, when you put the gloves on and you don't have a headgear on, you are a fighter. You put yourself in harm's way. He's done that now, I think 8 or 9 times now, maybe even 10 times. And so you have to be able to say, hey, you know, he may not do it at the level that I've done it at. He may not have done it as long as I've done it, but he still has made a way for himself. And that's what boxing is.
To your point, he's competed 11 times in 4 years. He's never been stopped or knocked down. Now, he had the split decision with Tommy Fury in 2023. He's fought mostly UFC fighters, so that is part of the caveat of all this.
So again, like, here's a great example. I fought 11 times in my first year of boxing. In my first year of boxing, out of those 11 fights, I think 7 or 8 of them were knockouts. It's a part of the game. The difference is you guys didn't see the 11 fights that I had. People have seen his 11 fights. I'm happy for him because he's done things that you just can't, most guys can't do. But people involved in this sport, especially guys who have been involved in this sport for 15, 20, 30 years, they're like, he doesn't deserve it. No, he does, because he played the game very, very well.
Okay, so now you take us inside where 99% of us can't go, in a ring where I would never step and get my face hit or my stomach hit and I'd throw up all over the ring. So can a 58-year-old man, now the rounds are 2 minutes, not 3 minutes, can he get himself in condition enough to go the distance if in fact this goes the distance?
Here's the thing most people don't know. 2 minutes, if done correctly, competed correctly, 2 minutes is actually harder than 3 minutes because you have more output. There's less time for you to stand there and wait, more time of working. The more you work, the higher the heart rate goes. 2 minutes is actually harder than 3 if done correctly. I look at Mike as an antique car. He's a prized possession. The antique car, when you pull it out of the driveway, you're going to do 35 miles per hour. You might do 50 just to say, hey, I woke you up, but you're not going to do 100 miles per hour in that beautiful antique car. Mike is the beautiful prize that you push it to 100, but it ain't going to stay up there very long.
That's a great analogy. And another thing about the gloves they're wearing, again, 99% of us will never step in the ring and get hit in the face with any size glove. They're wearing 14-ounce gloves. How big of a difference is that to the, 10-ounce that you got, 8 or 10 ounce that you guys wear? 10 ounce?
Yeah,
So how much of a difference is that?
I'll play on the analogy. So if Mike is the beautiful antique car that is just kept in mint condition and he looks great. We've seen him do his workouts and things like that. Well, then now you got to look at Jake Paul as maybe the Lamborghini or the Ferrari, you know what I mean? But you've depreciated your value because you're putting on 14-ounce gloves. Why are you want us to take you serious? We want to, see something real, but now you're depreciating your value. Why are you putting on 14-ounce gloves? Why are you doing a 2-minute professional boxing round, but then making it sanctioned? You know what I mean? So this is when I say it's a gimmick. I'm not hating on the gimmick, but let's be honest. What we're watching is just a show.
Is there an advantage to either fighter with the bigger gloves?
I think if anything, usually when you have the bigger gloves on, that means you have more padding. You're able to block the shots, absorb the shots. Like if you think about it like this, with the 8-ounce glove and you block, you still get hit in the face. Not much cushion there. With the 14, you block, you still get hit in the face. There's more cushion there. So in essence, we would think that would protect Jake Paul a little bit more because what we've known of Mike is that he has unbelievable power. On the other side of that, when we talk about the impact of the punch, maybe you're taking some of the impact off of what Mike would actually be, what that impact would be if it were a 10-ounce glove that he typically would wear. So I think, man, if anything, you even the playing field a little bit. But when you're in the ring with a 56-year-old man, why do you need to even the playing field? I feel like that's enough,
Yeah. Well, and I mean, a lot of people are pointing to the age with Mike Tyson. The reason this fight was moved because he had the ulcer flare up that a lot of people were worried about back in July. Like, is there a worry of seeing Mike get hurt in all of this and knowing how much he means to the world of boxing, how jarring that would be?
I said, you know what? He's gonna be fine. Don't worry. He's gonna be good. I know a lot of people who envy Mike and have been fans of him for so long. A lot of people are truly just worried, especially after that ulcer flare up. You should have been worried before the flare up. And if you're worried now, I get it. But what I truly think is, again, when you're doing a 2-minute round and the 14-ounce gloves, you gotta. I think that there's enough respect going on in that ring that if either of these guys get into a comparable position, I think that the other would be respectful of the situation.
So outside of the 40 mil that Jake Paul's getting, so which is a win, is he really in a lose-lose situation? If he loses to Mike Tyson, he loses to a 58-year-old. If he beats Mike Tyson, he beats a 58-year-old. I mean, what's outside of the money, what's the gain?
At the end of the day, boxing is supposed to be entertainment. And I think that that's another thing that, first of all, people in boxing don't understand. They don't understand that this is entertainment. If a guy comes out dancing and wrapping himself to the ring before the fight, if a guy comes out wearing Michael Jackson clothes and moonwalks his way to the ring, it's supposed to be entertaining. And I think that that's what people can expect on Netflix Friday night is just pure entertainment. He doesn't, this is no lose-lose for him. This is win-win for both guys, I think, in every way, because the number one thing, their number one objective is to entertain us. How they choose to do that is on them, and hopefully it's something that we all appreciate.
Well, and you mentioned the entertainment. It is a sanctioned fight in Texas. There are going to be judges on hand. There are people that can wager on this too. And so as you look at this, do you have a read on how you actually think this is going to go once they get in the ring?
I got to be honest with you, I do. And I actually screenshotted what I said to friends of mine. And I will, if this fight plays the way that I expect it to play, then I will post it. But listen, this is the only reason why I'm not going to post it now. I don't want to give anyone a reason not to watch this fight.
So, all right. So you won't tell us who you think wins.
That was very
do
cryptic,
you think
wasn't
it go? But
yeah.
How about this? Do you think it goes the distance?
It goes the distance.
Really?
All right.
Goes the distance.
All right. So again, checking this one out, it's going to be 2-minute rounds, 8 rounds instead of 10 or 12. But Shawn is telling us he believes it goes the distance. So like you said, wants people to tune into this. This is a spectacle for boxing. It is an entertainment event. And there is no doubt, 8 o'clock Eastern in Arlington, we are going to have just that. Shawn, this has been a ton of fun, man. We appreciate all the help and insight on this. Thanks. I hope we'll get to talk to you again soon. All right, man?
I appreciate you guys. Call me back.
Absolutely. The great Shawn Porter, 2-time welterweight world champion, kind enough to join us today. Thanks, Shawn.
You got it.
You know what? The one thing we should have asked Shawn about is why the tiny shorts for Mike?
Yeah.
Like decided to go out there, the almost 60-year-old rocking the Speedo going. And I get it. If I was his age, I had a body that looked like Mike. And if I'm Mike Tyson, quite honestly, doing whatever I want in that regard anyway.
I mean,
no one's going to tell me otherwise.
Even though the dude's 58, he still scares the living hell out of me.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we talked about in the beginning of the show, the interview with the kid, that he just like lost sight that he was even talking to a child and dropping F-bombs and talking about death. I mean, the dude is just literally a scary human being.
He is. He's terrifying. He's also almost 60, and that worries me for this fight, Dad. Like, I know we talked and asked about, the ulcer flare-up that helped delay this fight in the beginning, and a lot of people questioning in general the safety of Mike Tyson in this, being an older guy going into the ring, was someone who obviously is nowhere near as accomplished as a fighter, never will be. Mike Tyson, one of the all-time greats, but again, just has youth on his side right now in this setting. I do think, like we've seen in a lot of these other instances of the gimmick fights, though, to Shawn's point, these guys are going to take care of each other. I don't think there's a world where Mike Tyson signs up for this to get embarrassed potentially in any way. Likewise for Jake Paul, everyone's trying to get paid. And I think while this is a sanctioned fight, I still don't think it's one where we're going to see one of these guys really try and kill the other.
And that's what bums me out, because that's what everybody knows. When you watch Mike Tyson fight, the opening bell rings and he goes charging across the ring like a rhinoceros, trying to decapitate his opponent. And I'm really kind of bummed, quite honestly, and because I'm not in the ring getting hit, that the gloves are 14 ounces. I mean, they almost look like pillows compared to what the in normal fights that they look like. And I definitely think that favors Jake Paul.
Senior.
Yeah, I think all of this favors attention with probably less production once we get to it, if any of the past events are predictive. Now, they found a way to make it entertaining, and a lot of these fights have also been good about the surrounding entertainment, making these into a spectacle. To Shawn's point, they understand how to sell this as an entertainment event. That's nothing else.
But if Mike hits one of those uppercuts, it's over.
Senior, we need you. We need you in a Speedo. That's what we need, Senior.
No, God, no, please, no. No one needs that. Nobody wants this.
You wouldn't.
But
see
coming up next, everybody wants a college football preview here on GoJo and Golic, so we'll give it to you next. Little cash it or trash it heading into the college football weekend. Cash it or trash it is presented by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details. Dad, I'm looking at Utah on the road against Colorado. Colorado 11-point favorites in this one. And while that Utah defense has been good, we know it's been the meat grinder of injury on offense. They played a nail-biter against their rival in BYU, at home, selling out, and in the process, lost another quarterback to injury, lost their starting tight end, Brant Keithy, to injury, and I think overall, it's going to be too much for them. I like Buffalo big in this one, Colorado big in this one, the Buffaloes, as they continue to make their CFP case. All right, welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Hour number 2 here. We'll talk to Mark Andrews, Baltimore Ravens star tight end, in just a little bit here. Get a little bonus look. We did our NFL preview already, but get to take a look at that Ravens-Steelers game that, great division matchup. Another one, that Ravens rushing offense going up against one of the best run-stuffing units in the NFL in Pittsburgh, and really the ultimate test for Russell Wilson now. They put him in that lineup to beat this Baltimore Ravens secondary, and we're going to get our first look at him with the pen in his hand to see how that actually goes against the unit that could hamstring this entire Ravens championship hope.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that the Ravens give up so much in passing really bodes well for Russell Wilson in this one.
Certainly does, so we'll get to that coming up in a little bit, but now we're going to roll along with some college football here. It's time for our college football weekend preview. It is brought to you by Cheez-It. This college football season, we're feeling the cheesiest with Cheez-It. And we got plenty of history we're chasing. The college football playoff sorting out this weekend now. And, Dad, the Heisman race down the home stretch is going to be fascinating. We've talked a lot about the quarterbacks involved in all this. Right now, Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty, though, the position players, and in Travis's case, multiple positions, leading the way on this. Cam Ward's going to be a really interesting case in this because the loss to Georgia Tech bumped him out for a lot of people, even though he did everything he could within that game to try and make it happen. But he's also chasing history now. One thing that could be a potential resume boost for him is that Cam Ward is now chasing Case Keenum for the most touchdown passes in the history of college football, with 155 currently held by Case.
Yeah, Cam Ward has 151, so he's 5 away from breaking the record with 2 games remaining at Wake Forest and Syracuse. So he's going to get the record. I mean, he's a guy that started at Incarnate Word, where he threw 24 touchdowns in 2020, 47 touchdowns in 21, then went to Washington State, where in the 2 years there, he threw 48 more touchdowns, 32 so far at Miami. He's going to break the record.
Yep.
I definitely think the loss to Georgia Tech hurt his Heisman chances, because you have 2 guys that aren't quarterbacks that are doing special things.
Yes.
Ashton Genty, obviously, in running the ball and rushing touchdowns. And Travis Hunter's played over 1,000 plays.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's insane.
And he's putting up stats.
Well, I mean, he's overwhelming. We'll get to the Colorado-Utah game here shortly.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly their leading receiver, a guy that opposing defenses struggle to even throw at. He's so gifted. And so it is, listen, let's put it this way. No one would be happier. Now, I'm a Heisman voter, so I can't really give this away yet. But I think in general, the public would be pretty happy to get to celebrate a player like that, as opposed to an award every year that seems like it goes to
I would
a
be
quarterback.
ecstatic if you voted for a non-quarterback, because I think it's turned into such a quarterback award. And people remember, Travis Hunter was a monster recruit.
Yes.
Coming out of high school, and he chose to go play with Deion at Jackson State.
Yes.
So, I mean, but he was a big time recruit. So this shouldn't be shocking. It still is that he's going both ways. That's always an incredible thing. The higher up level you go, it is amazing the things he's doing.
Yeah, I think it's still noteworthy. We expect a lot from these 5-star recruits coming in. And for the most part, listen, these star rankings exist for a reason. A lot of them can be great players. But to your point, betting on Deion Sanders and now watching that pay off to the tune of not only a robust Heisman candidacy, but also a team that, as we'll get to, has a Big 12 championship appearance that right now is theirs to lose.
And the possibility of being the number 1 pick overall. Now, I think it'll end up being a quarterback.
Yeah.
It usually happens. But to be a unbelievably high pick in the draft, the dude is just going through the roof with talent.
It's been incredible. So, all right, let's get to the weekend preview here. Emerson, what are we looking at here, bud?
Tennessee and Georgia here, gentlemen. The highlight of Week 12. I think you said it in one of the commercial breaks here, Gojo. This is kind of like 2 flawed contenders here. You think Tennessee can sustain that offense and keep up with Georgia between the hedges here?
Yeah, so, Dad, Georgia's a 9.5-point favorite in this game, which smells really weird to me.
Yes.
I don't know if this is already an indication about Nico Iamaleava's health, who was on the injury report in concussion protocol this week, as we heard after last week's win against Mississippi State. So that's got me concerned because, again, on paper, this is a Tennessee Vols defense that's one of the best in college football, not quite as proficient at harassing the quarterback. That was really what undid Georgia against Ole Miss last week. Ole Miss, the most sacks of anyone in college football this year. Tennessee, I think, down in the 20s. Ole Miss up over 40 sacks that they've notched this year. But Tennessee offensively a bit stunted, but going up against the Georgia team that we've seen, Carson Beck can't stop turning it over. Their rushing attack now going to be down Trevor Etienne as well. And so I don't expect a lot of teeth there. This, to me, in the line reeks of, I don't think they think Nico's going to play. Because if he does, I think Tennessee can win this game.
Yeah, I love the quote by Josh Heupel, Tennessee's coach. You earn the right to play in a big football games by what you do during the course of the season. In these games, you have the ordinary things. You have to do the ordinary things at a really high level consistently. For us, that means you have to prepare at an elite level. And he's right. I mean, they haven't beaten Georgia since, 2016? And I don't know if Nico's playing or not. That's obviously going to hurt big time if he's not. But this Georgia team, they struggle to run the ball. Obviously, the Etienne injury hurts them. Beck's thrown 12 interceptions, multiple interception games. And we keep talking about this Georgia defense, or we have talked about it. You mentioned the Tennessee defense. They haven't given up more than 19 points in a game this season. They're the best defense versus SEC opponents, number 1 in third down and red zone defense. So this defense has been excellent while the offense for Georgia has not. I really think this kind of hinges on whether Nico plays or not.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, then I think Georgia probably wins this game. This is already a Tennessee offense that struggled even when Nico's been in there. Like,
that's the thing.
In there is not a salve for this. They've been led by their running back room.
Nico has
Dylan Sampson's been the story of this season for Tennessee.
Yeah.
They have a very physical group up front on the offensive line. And Nico has been better as of late. He's a dynamic athlete, which helps in this offense to have a true dual threat. But they have also not hit on the explosives downfield at the rate they need for this offense to really hum.
You're right. I'm not saying Nico is the difference in this game at quarterback, because it is Dylan Sampson. School record 20 rushing touchdowns, over 1,100 yards rushing so far. They are a running team, but you certainly have a better shot with Nico.
Playing.
I think without doubt.
I think if Nico's in this game, Tennessee covers. I don't know if I can pick them outright to win because, again, Bulldogs are also with the longest, the 28-game home winning streak that they've got. Certainly in this series against Tennessee, there's some edge there. So, it's so tough because based off everything we've seen lately, Georgia has been awful offensively. Again, Bill Connolly pulled these stats. In the last three games, Georgia 77th in third down conversion rate, 95th in points per drive, 101st in percentage of plays gaining 10 or more yards, 102nd in percentage of plays gaining 0 or fewer yards. They've been awful offensively. The offensive line's been shuffled around. Tate Ratledge tried to come back and then got banged up early in that game last week. So, man, this is a tough one to pick. I just think ultimately, whether it comes to the banged up quarterback or not, Georgia at this point, can they muster a few more plays? Man, what do you think? Who are you picking in this one?
I'm picking Tennessee. I think Georgia is having a down year for them, right? 2 losses. The SEC race for the 2 teams in the title is unreal. I mean, as far as the amount of teams involved. This will be the end for Georgia if they lose. And even Kirby Smart said, while he isn't talking about it, the leaders on the team are talking about the importance of this game, that basically their season is over if they lose. If they get a 3rd loss, they're done. For Tennessee, obviously, if they lose, it's 2 losses. They're sitting at 7. They would probably drop out. I kind of like Tennessee because of their defense in the running game. I'm going to go with Tennessee for the win.
I'm going to pick Georgia. I don't think they cover, and that's especially true if Nico plays, but I'm going to go Georgia in this one. There's just something that smells funny to me about this whole thing here, and I'm wondering if Georgia can muster up in a game where I don't really trust either offense. We've seen on their best day, Georgia's defense can be the best defense in college football. They have shown that in some bursts. It has not been consistent enough, but can this be one of those games where, to your point, they feel their backs against the wall, they go out there and muster a big one? We've seen wild swings for a lot of the good teams that maybe play up or down to competition. Maybe this is where Georgia puts their foot
Sit there, and all the players we talked about, we know what it comes down to, the lines of scrimmage. For Tennessee to get that running game going, their offensive line against that defensive line of Georgia. Great matchups.
All right, Emerson, let's move on to the Big 12 here. What do we got?
Yeah, while the Big 12 has been chaotic here, GoJo, particularly in recent weeks, there is a clear path to the league championship game for both BYU and Colorado if they win out over the final 3 weeks of the regular season. Which team do you trust more to get there?
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, that's a damn good question, huh?
That is a damn good question. At this point, Dad.
Uh-oh.
I think I trust BYU, though. They were in a game against Utah.
Yeah. The refs gave them that one, bud. Refs gave them that one.
Boy, oh boy. That was...
All right, so they got Kansas, who's coming off a couple of games where their rushing attack has gone up. And this week, that's the one area of BYU's defense you'd say probably gives you the most concern is the rushing attack there. Arizona State's been a live dog. Houston's certainly been up there. Dad, can you pull up Colorado's schedule right now?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Hold on.
All right, I don't know why I asked you to do a technological thing here. I'll just do it right now. Colorado's got Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. So, listen, Colorado's got the easier path here. Now,
They do.
Both of them play Kansas, but I'd actually say I probably trust Colorado more given the path that they're on now than BYU to get there. I mean, I think BYU's incredibly talented, but again, as we've gone along, the high-end athleticism for that team. Jake Retzlaff's an awesome player at quarterback. I like him a lot, but he's not Shador on the other side and what he's capable of.
I just say, and Colorado coming from the 18th slot. Now, they'll probably move up a couple of more before they would reach, obviously, the conference title game, but could have an automatic bid. I mean, and that's going to be the thing. Will the Big 12 get 2 in? I think the ACC is down to 1 team in. The winner of the conference, I think that's going to be it because their highest-ranked team is Miami at number 9. While BYU is, 6? So I think, and they'll, given what if Indiana loses Ohio State, BYU would move up even more if they keep winning. I think they would be high enough that if it's a close loss to Colorado in the Big 12 championship game, while Colorado would get the automatic bid, I don't know if BYU would fall far enough to be out of it.
Yeah, man, I'm not sure. The Big 12 feels like a one-bid league to me right now, so we'll see what happens with that.
They definitely have a better shot at 2 than the ACC, but certainly not guaranteed. Colorado's just playing well at the right time.
Well, we did cash it or trash. Like, I think Colorado has a chance to really put it on Utah. This is one of those, like, as much of an emotional thing as it is, Utah has a game they feel like they got robbed at home against their rival in the Holy War, and they walk out of that with quarterback injured, tight end injured. Isaac Wilson, who's going back in at quarterback, had played. He'd been the guy that started after Cam Rising was injured, but there's a reason they went to Brandon Love on the other side and now are without him. So I look at this and say, I think Colorado can run away and high with this one. Their defense also quietly leading the Big 12 in sacks, which is not a thing that I think most people would have predicted.
Bringing Warren Sapp in to coach that defensive line. And after Utah, they have a 3-6 Kansas team and a 3-7 Oklahoma State team. So their path to the title game is right where they want it. Listen, all you can ask for is to control your own destiny. And Colorado controls their own destiny.
By the way, said Brandon Love meant Brandon Rose, a quarterback for Utah in this game that will be out because of that injury there. So that's certainly going to add to that situation. But no, you're right. Colorado has absolutely peaked at the right time. The interesting part now, too, from like a interpersonal standpoint, is handling all the success and attention again. Because the last time Colorado got all this attention, they weren't ready for it as a program based on where they were as a football team. They've been allowed to operate a lot more in the dark than you would have anticipated this year as they've gone and gotten to this level. Now that everyone's talking about them again, and they're the sexy team out of everyone's mouth, can you go out and handle that in games where now you're supposed to win? Now we're looking at you post-Nebraska and actually trusting you again.
Yeah, as I had said, last year they started out great and they were the talk of the country, and they continued to be the talk of the country as they went into the tank. This year they're playing well and they're not the talk of the country, but Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are made for the spotlight, and their team is better around them. So listen, you can say anything you want about Shedeur and Travis Hunter possibly winning the Heisman, Shedeur being a high pick, both being a high pick. The bottom line is the team is better, right? They've gone 2 years of just basically transfer heaven and just brought in new players. And it's clicking this year more than it did last year when they brought in like 85 or something, like 60-some transfers.
We can have a conversation at some point. Deion Sanders deserves a lot of credit for what he's done in 2 years with this team. And he said, why would I go out and sign 25 high school students given the current environment here? I do think we're still figuring out roster construction at the college level at this time in what mix of this is going to work best. Because when it comes to shocking a program back to life, yes, this influx we've seen is capable of producing early results. Can this be a long-term strategy if you get Deion Sanders here long-term? We know First Take wants him coaching the Cowboys next year.
Yeah.
But if you get him here long-term, can this be a strategy that year after year allows you to have the same shot when you don't have Shedeur Sanders at quarterback, when you don't have Travis Hunter on that defense? Maybe he's shown he can attract more players like that, but I still question if that's a strategy that can work long-term and how Deion would adjust. We'll wait and see that as we still go down the road with a lot left of this season. All right, rolling along, heading into another hectic weekend in the NFL, and a big one in the AFC North with a nice divisional matchup between the Ravens and the Steelers. More on that. Delighted to bring in Ravens All-Pro tight end Mark Andrews, kind enough to join us today. Mark, good morning, man. How you doing?
Hey guys, awesome to be here. Thank you guys for having me on the show. I'm doing great.
Awesome, man. No, we appreciate you giving us some time. And like we said, it's a big weekend, and we'll certainly get to that and the matchup and everything to look forward to. But for you, man, it's been an interesting year. I mean, a lot got made of the slow start, not only for you, but I think for a lot of the premier tight ends around the league. So what was it like for you, kind of mentally dealing with everything that came with that, and now obviously having put that in the rearview mirror with how well you've performed lately?
Yeah, I think that, for me, the start of the season and the type of team that we have, going into it, we got a bunch of guys. We got, guys all over the field that are able to make big plays. But for me, just learning patience and staying patient and trusting and believing, one, in myself, but my teammates and everything that we do here in the Ravens organization, that never faltered. So, I knew and trusted that, my time's going to come, plays are going to be made. And, but that's the thing about our offense is that so many guys are able to step up, make plays and big time moments that we don't need to rely on just one person. We have a bunch.
As Mike mentioned for the tight ends, it seemed to be on tight end day, National Tight End Day, that a lot of tight ends started doing well. Seriously, where did National Tight Ends Day come from?
Well, you gotta, give credit where it's due. And that's, George Kittle, that crazy man, he's just got so much love and joy for this game, but especially the tight end position and bringing all those guys along. And it really is it's a cool thing because I feel like for so many years it's been overlooked, but we do so many different things. And, the guys represented on National Tight Ends Day, a lot of big plays were made. I saw a couple stats where, some records were broken, amount of touchdown catches and catches. So guys are balling out. It's always good to see that.
Does Pat Ricard get included in that group here? I feel like he's a guy that wears so many different hats. Do you guys can count him in for the tight end day festivities?
I know in our room, he's part of the four-headed monster, man. He does everything and more. He's such an athlete. He does everything. And to me, the ultimate tight end, man, he's an incredible player.
For you, it's your, I believe, 7th year in the league, came in 2018. How for you has it's the league changed in those 7 years?
I feel like the league and defenses, they're always adapting and changing. And as you go through different offenses, you start to see different things. So first, 5 years, 6 years, being under, G Rose, the offense coordinator, that progression, and now being under Monk and seeing this progression and what we're able to do. So I feel like it's constantly changing. The game is continually to getting faster and faster and just different type of looks. But yeah, I feel like you can't stay stagnant for too long. You got to be able to change things up. And I feel like we've done a great job here of, just being diverse.
You mentioned Todd Monken and the effect he's had in the last couple of years. What was the biggest change when he came over and took the reins on this offense, specifically for you guys in the tight end room?
It's a total, different offense, so for us, just learning that, we're asked to do a couple of different things that, maybe we weren't. And so it's just learning, your role and trying to perfect that the best that you can to fit in and help the team win games. It's always about, especially here, is doing your job. And so for us in the tight end room, we looked forward to that and really dove into this offense and learned the scheme and learned, where and how to make plays within the offense. And it's been really fun to learn it.
You come off a big close win against the Bengals, 35-34, and turn around this week and you take on the Steelers, who are leading the division. Talk about the division games as opposed to outside the division in the preparation.
Well, anytime you play, those division games, we know each other so well. Both teams, especially within this division, it's always going to be a dogfight. Every time you go in there and you step into a game, You got to be ready. You stay ready, and just know that you just got to continue to grind it out because nothing's easy in the AFC North. It's always going to be whoever works the hardest, whoever plays the hardest, and that's the beauty of it is that we got a bunch of great teams, a bunch of great players in this AFC North, and it's always going to be a dogfight. So we're looking forward to this week. We treat every week, with the utmost importance, but this is definitely a big one for us this week.
You mentioned a lot of great players. How many offensive meetings for you guys game planning this week have started out with the name TJ Watt?
Yeah, yeah, he's a guy that you always got to have your eye on, man. He's just an incredible player year in, year out. Incredible effort. Nothing but great things to say about him. One of the all-time best. So we got our hands full, especially with him. But they got guys all over that defense that are flying around, making big plays, and playing really well.
So when you have to chip TJ, do you purposely try not to look at him? Try not to make an eye contact with him before the play starts?
I don't even want to talk about it, man.
Yeah, he's not giving away any of the trade secrets right now. You're not going to bait him in. You want defensive players trying to cheat on behalf of his brethren and trying to give him the edge there. I want to talk about your quarterback. You mentioned the ways this offense has changed, certainly with Todd Monken, but Lamar Jackson coming off his second MVP season last year and seems even better again this year. What's the biggest area since you and Lamar have worked together where you feel like he's matured and improved the most as a player that's got him playing the best ball of his career again?
I think he's just seeing everything so well and so clear and really at a different level. Obviously, he's putting the ball and throwing the ball, better than anybody. But just the way he's seeing the game, I think everything is just incredibly slow for him. He's already just this freak of an athlete and freak of a quarterback, but it's elevated to even another realm of Lamar Jackson, which is just hard to believe. Two-time MVP, and he's doing it better than he's ever done it. And us on the offense, we can tell he makes our jobs a lot easier, and he's making great decisions. And it's just been so much fun going into each and every week knowing that you have number 8 with you.
Yeah, two-time MVP, all that, great. But what about the freak Derrick Henry? I mean, what is it like watching that dude run at his size?
He's everything and more. Whenever you hear about Derrick Henry, throughout the years, the Titan years, and going against him, and all the big time plays that, especially he's made against us throughout the years. It's he's all that and more, man. He's an incredible player, one of the best all time running backs, and the way that he approaches every day of taking care of his body, living right, lives, breathes, eats football, and he's been such a joy to be around. But incredible, special player that is an incredible teammate.
Speaking of joy, how's Zay Flowers around the locker room? I feel like every time I see that guy on game day, he's always got the biggest smile on his face. No one can catch him. He's jackrabbit quick. What's that guy been like, and what's he meant to this offense?
Well, I think you hit it spot on the head, man. He's just always got a huge smile on his face, cracking jokes, but he's also a super competitive person. When he's running routes, he's running them to win, and that guy's playing lights out. He's another guy that's just getting better and better and better, and he's got a lot of fight to him. So yeah, he's been a joy to have in the locker room. We all love him, and that's our guy, man. He's been a rock for us all year long.
All right, so I know this is like a month ago now that this got brought up, but are you and Baker good? Have you guys talked during the rest of the season here? How much did he overblow all that stuff when he was airing you out in front of everybody?
He's just trying to play mind games. He knows I love him. That's my guy, and that's just classic Bake trying to play some mind games.
I mean, watching him, obviously you guys college teammates for anyone that didn't know and were part of some really great stuff at Oklahoma. Seeing what he's done down and how he's sort of reinvented his career in Tampa, what's that been like for you to watch as someone that knows, I'm sure, how hard some of those years in the interim were?
Yeah. And he's been through it, just in different places, and it goes to show you that situationally it matters, depending on where you are and how things are run. And I think he's done an incredible job of just putting his nose down and working and just really maturing and not listening to all the outside noise, and just being himself, because he's a great quarterback. He's slinging the ball. He's running that offense incredibly well, and I'm incredibly happy for him and the success that he's having in Tampa. And they're really rallying behind him, which he deserves. He's such an incredible player.
One thing that no matter how long you're in the league, you're always care about what your college does, and if there's playing against teammates and have little bets in the locker room. Tough year for your Oklahoma team with their first year in the SEC, huh?
Yeah, a little bit tough, just kind of timing of, the guys that we have I think earlier on we had some big injuries and just hasn't been our year. But I know that, obviously we'll get to recruiting and get those guys going. But, Oklahoma never stays down for too long. We'll be back.
Nope, they're going to find them another Mark Andrews and get him in there and try and turn this whole thing around, God willing, because they're one of the teams. College football is better when you've got a good Oklahoma squad out there, and certainly that's going to be true from now on here. Mark, we appreciate all the time, man. Best of luck. It's been fun watching what this offense has been able to do. It seems like the sky's the limit for you guys, so looking forward to the game against Pittsburgh this weekend.
Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure talking with you.
Really trying to get him to give away his tells in chipping and helping out on TJ Watt here.
Listen,
what kind of rat do you think he is?
Once a defender, always a defender.
I mean, unbelievable.
Trying to get that key.
You guys are for any little crumb.
Listen.
Sad.
When I was an average player, that's what I had to do. I had to try and get all the different tells, the heavy stance, the eyes, are they looking somewhere? I had to find all those little things to help out. And I was just trying to nonchalantly ask him to see if he would give it away.
Yeah, you know what? I think the last person on earth that needs help with anything right now is TJ Watt. So probably good on that front. And, Dad, we talked a little bit about this game before. It's going to be fascinating. It seems like the final form of sort of what we saw when this Ravens rushing attack went up against Denver's defense. And we're like, all right, hey, great rush defense, trying to go out here and hold it down against the best rush offense in the NFL. And eventually the dam broke. I think the Steelers offense now better positioned than the Broncos to take advantage of what the Ravens do poorly, which we know is giving up deep passing yards. The Ravens allow the third most yards and are tied for the most touchdowns on deep passes in 2024. This is now the final test, or at least I should say this is the midterm exam for the Steelers right now. You got to go out here and see how you do on the midterms before we're going to talk about anything else for you this season when it comes to, hey, Russell Wilson, can he finally go and attack this area of the Ravens defense, the reason you made the switch to begin with?
It's amazing. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers' first division game.
Dude, only AFC team who hasn't played one yet.
Yeah. I think the only team in the NFL who hasn't played a division game. As I look through here quickly, no division games. So they still have all their division games coming up. And listen, Russell Wilson, you can say the skills have diminished over the years, but he's always been a great deep ball thrower, right? And Baltimore is bad against the big play. So that's a matchup for Pittsburgh. You have Derrick Henry has the most tackles broken, I think 59 broken tackles this year, the most in the NFL. The Steelers are the least team to miss a tackle.
Yeah, best tackling team in the NFL.
That's a better way to say it.
There you go. Numbers are hard sometimes.
So, I mean, Pittsburgh has always been solid in the running game, solid against the run, and then the passing game. When they had Big Ben, certainly they had some good passing years. But Russell Wilson isn't going to be this lighted up passer, though against Baltimore, that's Baltimore's Achilles heel. And now you have George Pickens with the deep ball, Mike Williams with the deep ball. If nothing else, throw it up and look for an interference call as well.
Since Russ took over in Week 7, the Steelers are in the top 6 in scoring offense and total offense. That includes some of the balls to George Pickens. Dad, that's going to have to be how they win this game because the Ravens still a very good run defense. The thing for me that's going to be interesting in this game is the Ravens hadn't put pressure on the quarterback all year until last week when they went out and played the Cincinnati Bengals and now all of a sudden sacked Joe Burrow 3 times in that game. This is a Steelers offensive line that also struggles to protect the passer. We know Russ is the much less fleet of foot between him and Justin Fields. And so if Baltimore can get home to the passer again, that's their only way out of this because I don't know if the back end's going to improve markedly anytime soon. It's great on great with Steelers defense against the Ravens offense. And then for the Steelers offense against the Ravens defense, it's really, can they go out there and win with that right style? Again, I think Baltimore wins this game because the offense is just operating on another plane entirely right now. But this is going to be, can Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers be a more consistent deep passing team in this game? Because that's how they're going to win. Najee Harris got slowed down a little bit last week, but he's been on a tear. This Ravens defense can still stop the run. You got to beat them one way.
Yeah, I just feel if this gets into a scoring game, a higher scoring game, this Baltimore leads the league in scoring. Pittsburgh's down there a little bit, and I just don't know if Pittsburgh could keep up if Baltimore is able to put up points against this Pittsburgh defense.
No, I completely agree. I think Baltimore wins this one in a big dramatic in their first game in the conference division. All right, I want to get to the Michigan $10.5 million quarterback offer story that's going around right now that was substantiated by a player's own Instagram story that has since been deleted. I think we're always talking and looking out at how fast the college football landscape is changing, and Bryce Underwood, the quarterback in question, who is from the state of Michigan.
From Michigan, yeah.
Who is a commit to LSU right now, the top quarterback in the upcoming class, apparently turns down a $10.5 million offer over 4 years at Michigan to do that. The interesting connective tissue between UM and that high school, though, is too hilarious to script. But before we get to that, Emerson, having him back in the show the last couple of days has been like a fever dream.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting around here in the last break, and he authors two of the more absurd takes I've heard in a while. The first is that he likes his, what, is it mini wheats or cinnamon toast crunch, Emerson?
No. Frosted Flakes, dude.
Frosted Flakes.
He likes his Frosted Flakes soaking wet and soggy in his cereal, which I don't think any cereal is better soggy. I think the timing you have to eat it with to get that crunch is imperative. But he compounds that by saying, I'm also gone back to being a whole milk guy.
Yep.
Put it on the poll. Brandon, at GoJo and Golic on Twitter. Can adults be whole milk people anymore? Like, is your stomach even built to take that?
I mean, that's what Alex, who we talked about, my granddaughter, who turns one today.
She's a 1-year-old baby.
She's a 1-year-old baby.
She's
starting. She's starting on whole milk.
Yeah.
Emerson, you're a 60-year-old man. I mean, you shouldn't be drinking whole milk.
Buddy, it's flavorful. It's good. It's like what comes right out of the cow.
Flavorful
the
and
udders.
good for you are two different things.
Man, really,
moderation.
Someone gift that visual, by the way, of Emerson. But
Yeah.
no, listen, I remember, like, I had whole milk my first time by accident. It was at a continental breakfast at a hotel, and they had milk in those, the carafes, and it wasn't marked the right way. And I poured some into a bowl or a glass, and I was like, did I just get super milk? Like, what happened? It tastes
good.
like sugar. It's like the remnants of a milkshake. But now, as a 35-year-old, and Emerson's older than I am, listen, every time I have milk, I still go to the well. I eat ice cream and dairy as much as anyone, and my body punishes me for it. Emerson, how do you live like that?
What do you mean? How do I live in a life full of flavor? Okay, pal. I do it in moderation. I'm not just sucking it down out of the gallon, okay? Like multiple times a day. A little bit of cereal, a little bit in my coffee, okay? And I say, damn, that's flavor.
So when you there's two different discussions here. The whole milk that you drink, then you pour the whole milk in your Frosted Flakes and you just let it sit until it gets soggy?
Yeah, like when you guys were having your discussion there about Mark Andrews, I was purposely letting this sit here and get soggy because sometimes the crispy, crunchy cereal, especially when it comes to what's the berries, Captain Crunch, like that's razor blade.
All berries,
yeah, that's razor blades to the top of your mouth. You know what I mean? It becomes all raw. It's like raw beef in my mouth. But if I let it get a little soggy, and then when I'm feeling fancy, slice up a banana. That's how you know you're part of the 1% class.
You put a banana in a sugary cereal?
Yeah, that's like, I understand. I like banana and oatmeal a lot, but banana and cereal.
Or in like Total or some non-sugary cereal.
Everything I'm doing is normal.
Actually, this is the poll here. Do you prefer your cereal drier or soggy in the milk? Do you let it sit and get soggy like Emerson? Or do you, because I have to eat it quickly. For me, it's all about having that crunchy texture with a little bit of a milk coating there to cool it down.
Fruity Pebbles, best soggy cereal out there.
No, just got. Oh, no.
You know what else? I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of leaning to Emerson.
Yes.
Life cereal. When I drink Life cereal, the soggier it gets.
Drink it?
Well, no. When I eat it, when I eat Life cereal.
I mean, you can drink it when you guys basically let it turn into this weird gelatinous sludge.
It's like a
soggier
milkshake.
Life cereal gets, kind of the better it is.
No.
I kind of see your point.
Thank you. This is this is history here. It's the first time you and I have been on the same page with anything because you just bully me nonstop.
Now we're not on the same page with the whole milk. That would just do
Well,
nasty
that's just
things.
more, like that's just me not like I'll crack the porcelain if you put whole milk in me at this point. But the soggy cereal thing, usually I am one to say, however people want to live their lives when it comes to food tendencies, that fine. For me, it's well done steak I can't tolerate. The idea it's a waste of the cut of meat.
Yeah.
And then this soggy cereal thing, no, I think you guys are flat out wrong in the way you approach this.
I just think your granddaughter, senior, she is on to something. She has a bright future ahead, and that's just what happens when you go whole milk, man.
Well, quite honestly, Emerson, all babies go to whole milk at some point. So it's not, like she's reinventing the wheel.
And Emerson is our delightful baby, and we love him, and we're glad he is getting the nutrients that he needs to be a big, strong mustache. You can't grow that mustache on 2% milk.
You're right.
That's a whole
true.
milk mustache, right? They need to get Emerson in the Got Milk campaign with
the
little
milk
mustache.
on the mustache.
Yeah, that'd be perfect for you.
That's
right
me.
now.
I'm right under the cow, just sucking away. I want the straight whole milk.
Okay. Well, all right. And on that
always
note, so
have to take it to our HR gets involved.
Let's pay off this nugget here because, as we mentioned, Bryce Underwood is the quarterback here. He was offered reportedly $10.5 million by Michigan to flip from LSU to Michigan. And there was a graphic that actually went up on the player's Instagram for a little bit that said Bryce Young is reportedly turning down $10.5 million from Michigan. We're seeing these things talked about more and more readily, from Ohio State's roster to now instances like this, as the NCAA actually gets ready today, I believe. I think I saw Ross Dellinger over at Yahoo posting that the non-football sports are getting ready to sign, instead of their letters of intent, actual contracts that are going to have buyout language, guarantees because of that revenue split stuff that's going on. The funniest part about this Bryce Underwood story, though, as we mentioned, he is from the state of Michigan, so he's a local product that Michigan is having a difficult time going after right now. I'm sure in no small part because of how the team has performed this year. We're seeing that Florida State lost their 6th commitment from their 2025 class as their season hits the skids. You know who's one of the assistant coaches at Bellevue High School, where he is at in Michigan?
I do not.
Former Michigan staffer Connor Stallions.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
He's an assistant at Belleville High School in Michigan.
Oh.
So no matter how this goes, you've now got that
Wow.
weird tangent associated with this for the greatest story in college football that absolutely refuses to die.
But isn't this an amazing? I mean, these high school kids coming into college get better deals than some mid-level NFL players. A 4-year, $10 million deal. I mean, to get offered. Now, we don't know. It's not been reported what LSU offered him because obviously there would be maybe a difference there. Maybe LSU matched it. I don't know. But this is where we are. This is where the offers are. This is where do you match an offer? Do you get close? Bryce talked about the fact of how they developed quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, to play in the NFL. Though J.J. McCarthy went in the first round. He was at Michigan, but
Also
certainly
true.
two different offenses. But again, until you forget the word commit. Now, Bryce committed to LSU, but nothing means it doesn't mean a thing until pen goes to paper.
No.
You can say you're committed all you want, but nobody's going to stop recruiting you.
He is the #1 player in the upcoming class, so you can understand why 6'3", 205-pound dual threat quarterback. He was Max Prep's National Freshman of the Year in 2021, and so yeah, I think it's just one of those things that's a sign of the time. But to your point, Dad, and I remember, I forget if it was Andy Staples when he was on with us or someone else who made this, if you're looking at the impact that someone at this position can provide, let's say Cam Ward is an example of a guy in the transfer market that can go out and transform a team like this. That's pennies for the effect a quarterback can have. There's a reason these guys are making $55 million a year in the NFL for the impact they have there in a league full of the best players. In college, where one player can have an outsized impact, Shador Sanders at Colorado, and we mentioned Cam there, $2.5 million a year is nothing if you hit on one of these guys and get him for 3 years.
Especially to what the collectives are collecting. Again, the money comes from the collectives, not from the schools.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet, at least. That's going to change. But right now, it's coming from the collectives, and they have plenty of money. Let's remember, Ohio State is leading the nation, and they have a $20 million team, $20 million in NIL for the year.
Oh, my God.
That is going out. It is amazing where we are, but it's not going to stop.
Can you imagine,
it's not going to
guys,
stop.
saying no to $10.5 million? You're like 17 years old.
Well,
Like
I'm
that-
sure he's
probably getting as
well,
much.
yeah,
For sure.
He's probably
It just-
getting close to that at LSU.
It just seems crazy, Someone slides an offer across the table, like that's not going to do it. It's like, my God, dude, I'd take like Publix
it's-
free pub subs for a year if I was his age. I'd be like, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah. This is the part where college football is certainly not like its NFL counterpart in terms of the quality top to bottom of the play, but in terms of having to make business deals, the likes of which guys in the NFL who take and shun a contract offer in favor of betting on themselves, these are the decisions now that 17 and 18-year-olds are having to make about their future in this sport. All right, welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Time to finish off the show the way we always do. This, that, and the third. 3 quick stories to send you into the rest of your day. Make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review the show. Leave us a 5-star rating. Check us out here live Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on the DraftKings Network, which includes the YouTube channel. I'm going to keep pubbing it until you all subscribe here. Thank you to the almost 600 subscribers we've got now. It's a slow trickle, but we're going to get there. Yeah. It is at GoJo and Golic. You can find it on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit the bell so you know when we're going live at 8 o'clock Eastern every day.
What is this bell you talk about?
So there's a bell you can hit that will send you a notification every time that we go live from the account.
Oh.
So it's a little.
Okay.
The bell is supposed to be a reminder, like you're ringing the bell
now.
and tell people what's going on.
All right, I like
So
that a lot.
You've learned something today.
have.
So you ring the bell.
Okay.
They get the alert that we're going live on the show and they can watch. But if they can't watch us live for whatever reason, maybe they got to go and drop their kids off at school or something, it wouldn't be safe to do in the car. You can catch that wherever you get your podcast right after. That includes interviews with our great guests. Shout out to Mark Andrews, Ravens tight end, who was kind enough to join us earlier in the show today, and Shawn Porter, former 2-time welterweight champion, to preview the Tyson and Jake Paul fight. Check those out where you get our podcast or right here on YouTube as soon as we get done with the show. Guys, let's get to this, that, and the third, and let's start off with this. We know, unfortunately, the Tampa Bay Rays not going to be able to participate in Tropicana Field again for the time being. After the damage caused by the hurricane, it was determined they're not going to be able to play in that stadium anytime in the near future. And so the announcement came from the Buccaneers communication of all places that actually now the Rays will be their neighbor. They're going to play their games at Steinbrenner Field, the Yankees spring training field down there in Tampa for the 2025 season. So obviously there are so many people feeling the effects of the hurricanes that were hitting Florida over the last couple of months, but this one in the world of sports now a tough blow for the Rays. Yeah,
I'm glad they got a home, though. You knew they would get a home. Boy, back in the day, we played at football and baseball stadiums.
Yeah, I mean, the double baggers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my home field in Philly was the Vet that you just switched over to the Phillies, and where there were more than a few fields that switched over to the baseball field.
Miami did that. Remember back in the day, like there was always the Marlins and
Dolphins. A lot of them did.
They
weren't building their own stadiums at that point until they found out, hey, we should build our own stadium. We could make more money.
Yeah, no. So this one, again, tough circumstances here. Certainly going to be jarring. I mean, you look at really 2 baseball teams now going into next year between them and the A's.
And the
playing
A's,
in Sacramento.
I mean, in a small. I mean, that whole situation. What a mess.
That's you know what?
It's what.
I was just going to say, I've seen people like kind of moaning and groaning about both those situations. And my only thing is like, they're both so different in the reason that they're in these situations.
Oh, no doubt.
But it's like, I hate people putting them under the same umbrella here because we know why the A's moved. A lot of questions with the ownership. Community got shafted. Tampa got shafted, unfortunately, by a hurricane. Like, there's no controlling that. Those people have been through hell and back. We were down there a few weeks ago talking to people about their recovery efforts, how they're rallying around, like, the Bucks. So it's like the Rays don't want to be in this situation. I just hate how people are.
Listen, to be clear, I'm not lumping them together and that the reasons for where they're at are similar. I'm just saying you're going to have 2 major league teams playing in minor league stadiums next year.
I didn't mean to make it seem like I was coming at you. I'm filled with whole milk right now, so I apologize.
I was going to say, is this the whole milk rage that's going on right now? Is that a side effect of this for adults?
I just hope you make it to the last 6 minutes of the show.
Hey, you got any more of that whole milk, man?
He's got whole milk fever right now. You know what? Maybe they'll serve that at the SEC Championship, too. We can get to that, Emerson, because apparently booze on the menu now for the SEC title game, which should make this, in the most chaotic season, where we're now spinning 3-loss LSU SEC Championship theories. At the very least, no matter how much of a headache it is in the process, you'll be able to soothe this, Emerson, with plenty of booze in Atlanta.
Yeah, what do you think about this? You're going to be able to, for the first time, SEC Championship game. It's going to be December 7th, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It is going to allow alcohol sales to the general public for the first time because previously here, guys, alcohol was only available in premium seating areas such as club level seats or the suite. So SEC already means more in that conference. People are always going bat crap crazy every game day. This is going to be insane. The environment's going to be even more unbelievable.
You know, and I think alcohol being served at college games, I think that started at West Virginia when my old teammate Oliver Luck was the AD there. And I think they were the first or one of the first to start serving alcohol at games. So listen, at a college game, most of the drinking is done pregame and tailgating, right? I mean, people are tailgating because, let's be honest, the drinks inside the stadium are going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
So to me, it seems like for college, for those that like to, drink a lot, you drink in the
Put that in quotes.
in the parking lot.
Like to
You
drink a lot.
Yeah.
You might have a brat or do a keg stand.
Maybe have a few too
Maybe
many.
also bong a beer.
Do it in the parking lot and get your fill there, and then just kind of keep it going with one or two drinks.
Keep it going.
Keep it going with
One
one
or
or two
two
drinks
drinks.
because it's a lot more expensive in the stadium.
Especially college kids,
I think in the past, proponents of selling alcohol in stadiums at college have pointed out that when you have the option in there, it might actually lessen the likelihood of people feeling like, oh, I've got to get all my drinking done in the parking lot and get wasted there because I'm going to go into the stadium and progressively lose my buzz here now. And so, listen, that sounds like a great thing if you're a person that wants to sell alcohol to say to make it seem altruistic, where in my mind, it's people are going to have the choice. They always have. I've understood that a lot has changed about amateur athletics, and I think this is one of the things. They have been slowly doping it, by the way, through a lot of the upper-level seating, a lot of the suite-level seating in these stadiums where they serve it there, they serve it to a certain group of the crowd, and I think that's kind of been a test case for them to eventually, in most of these places, release it to entire stadiums. So not surprised this has happened. It's always incumbent on people to drink responsibly. You've got to police this in the arenas as well now that you've got this as a factor, but that was true before when you had people just getting drunk in the parking lot. So again, I'm generally one of those that says people have to go be adults. You can limit maybe in certain spots how much you're going to sell people at once and all those different measures put into place. But at some point, grown-ups got to go in there and be grown-ups. Speaking of grown-ups being irresponsible, Emerson, let's get to the third because I think this next advent is going to lead to so many fights.
Oh, for sure. So, guys, everyone knows Topgolf. You get out there, you hit some piss missiles on 3 different layers, 3 different levels, rather. So now there's this new Topgolf, but for basketball called Jump Shot, all right? And Jump Shot is going to open its first location in 2025. It's basically the easiest way to describe it. It is a basketball version of Topgolf, which on the inside is going to smell like a lot of broken dreams from everyone's high school days. But nothing like letting the mozzarella sticks get cold while you go 2 for 13 from 3.
So I'm not going to lie. I don't understand. Is this going to be pickup games or what?
No, it looks like it's going to be more like knockout style or like a shooting competition, almost like you'd have with Pop-A-Shot, Dad. I think I would imagine it's going to be most akin to that based on the way it looks like these booths are set up in here. I don't know if like Topgolf, you'd be able to play different games based on what you put in there because to Emerson's point, Topgolf is basically a weaponized driving range. It's a driving range that serves food and drinks
and has a
that
few
also
games.
gives you a few more games in there and a few bells and whistles and sounds.
The thing is, it's like Topgolf, like you go there and most amateur golfers kind of realize they're not good at golf. In this situation, I think you're going to have a lot of people who think they really are good at basketball, and you're going to have many more people taking this way more seriously than they would Topgolf.
I'm going to like to see what it's like when people have too much to drink. Speaking of drinking, too much to drink and eat and go out and shoot. It's one thing to swing a golf club. It's another thing to go start shooting hoop.
It's a little more activity, and so that will be an interesting factor in this. But the way I look at it, to Emerson's point, is when you play golf, you wind up mad at yourself.
Yeah.
Like the self-hate in golf is very strong because it's a one-person game. Even when you're competing at a place like Topgolf, it's still about you. Basketball is about bleep talking other people. It's about competition amongst people, and that's why I think you combine basketball, drinking, and the kind of clientele, like Emerson said, it's going to be a bunch of people that were balling out in high school that haven't had a chance to have a meaningful outlet here, and I think you're going to have, like, people are going to swing.
It's going to be like a producer Alan, like on this show. He talked to me for 30 minutes before the show today about his old high school basketball workout. Like, he's going to be lining up out there.
Talk about guys and girls reliving the moment.
Oh, dude, trust me. Like Billy and Yates, two of the producers on our show, are exactly who I'm thinking of when two people that you're going to take in this environment that it's going to end in a shouting match when it's all said and done here. So hopefully this show hadn't evolved into too much of a shouting match today. If you like all the whole milk talk, download, subscribe, rate, review, leave us a 5-star rating. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.